time is it? Good morning, everybody. I'm going to put up our screen while we wait for Diana to log on. So welcome to Best Friend Central, the Confidence Conversations at 11:30, and we will get started in just a minute. So while we wait for Diana to log on, just remember, if you guys have any questions or any topics that you want us to touch base on, just post in the comments, and we'll be checking in on those to see how much, because we want to be able to give you so many takeaways, as many as possible. So don't be shy, just log in. Hi, Amy. I'm glad you're joining us this morning. Let's see. Oh, I'm just gonna pop off for a second. I need to get the clock in front of me. I like to be mindful of everybody's time, so I'll be right back.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great. How are you? I'm excited.
I am excited too, and it's so funny. You know, I was scrambling because I deleted all my social media, and then I was like, "Oh my god, I totally forgot about." So then I had to re-download Instagram. But here we go.
Oh, okay, good. Well, thank you for doing that. I think, yeah, I know what you mean. Like, I wanted to get off of social media quite a bit, and it's kind of the struggle when you have a business and you know that so many people are looking to that, right? But
Definitely.
it is important. So, but I'm so thankful that you did that so you could be here today. So, welcome everybody. Happy Thursday. You're here with Best Friend Central. I'm Carrie, and this is Diana, and she is the CXO, co-founder of Twine, and also was awarded the 2018 Forbes list 30 under 30. And so we are going to be here for the next 30 minutes talking about what Diana is doing for communities all around the world to end loneliness with her new app and venture called Twine. So Diana, you want to go ahead and describe what Twine is and what it is when you go on. I know how to use it, and I'm excited to hear all about it. But go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks so much. So Twine is a conversation platform. So it's a community that's built on conversations. And the whole premise of Twine is, you know, with so many of our communities moving online, especially with COVID, there is so little opportunity for real, intimate, vulnerable conversation. And it's just terrifying to post anything real online right now. And so we've created this space where basically our members get matched for one-to-one video conversations. And they're super short, so they range between 12 to 15 minutes. Sometimes we'll do extended ones. And you just choose from our library of like 300 plus deep questions, everything across politics and racism and COVID, whatever you're interested in, basically. And the reason why we have you choose questions is because, you know, conversations, the quality of a conversation is really dependent on the depth of the question. So our members, like, you basically get matched immediately to talk about a super meaningful question, and the conversation always goes somewhere amazing. And you know, our ultimate mission is to create a place where people can find their common threads and also explore their differences in a safe way. And so we now have members from like 20 plus countries last time we checked. So it's a really global community.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's really fun also, I think, especially now, because before Twine, I was very much, before COVID, I was very much a world traveler. And now that we're sort of in our own walls, it's like, what if you could explore humanity through conversation? So that's what we're doing at Twine.
Yeah. And that's what I love about it too, because it's also very new. And that's why I was so drawn to you, was because in the last 3 months, without knowing it, without knowing each other, we basically created something that we felt the world was craving, which was connectedness and possibly a platform for new friendships or growth, and to be seen and to be met where you are, and to be seen and to be heard, and to really grow that ability to be connected in the world in a way offline. So that's why that's why I was so excited to talk to you, because you're the first person that has also done that and used that time in the last 3 months to think, what can I do to make the world a better place right now? And so we've both been able to start something where we're connecting people, and so I just thought, I've got to talk to this girl and really try to do what I can to get it out there even more, to connect even more people. And so I was reading an article you wrote about End Loneliness, Explore Humanity, an intro to my next venture. And what you said was it possible to create a company that could make people feel like they belong, that enables people to be heard and understood by others, that facilitates meaningful relationships and conversations at scale? And that's just a perfect way to describe what you're doing with Twine, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, on the loneliness side, so loneliness is a hard thing, right? Because for many of us, it's like, we don't want to admit that we're lonely. But the reality is that half of Americans have reported they're lonely or don't have a confidant or someone to talk to. And I think it's probably just going to get like way worse for future generations because of new social norms that are emerging, where we don't cultivate meaningful relationships. And at a time like this, you know, when I wrote that piece, it was pre-COVID. So we were talking about, I think it was Vivek Murthy, the former U.S. Surgeon General, was talking about how there was a loneliness epidemic going on. And it's become like a loneliness pandemic, you know, depression, anxiety on the rise. I think, though, it's interesting because I see Twine as both a place for, a place where you can find belonging, and also a place where you can explore all facets of yourself. So it's both a place where, you know, if you're lonely and you're looking for connection and community, that's the place to go. But if you're, you know, not lonely and an explorer of the universe, and you just like having interesting conversations and growing, it's also a place for you to grow. So with a mixture of people who come from all different backgrounds, we find that the conversations become even more powerful.
Right. No, and I think you were just feeling that need, like you said, before COVID. And now that we are in the middle of this pandemic, even more people are feeling that. And like you said, I agree with you. I think it is just going to get worse, especially as all these younger generations, almost the only way they know how to connect is online. And that leaves such a huge chasm of emptiness to be able to learn and connect in other ways. And I know that your app is, it's via FaceTime, correct?
We actually have our own app with our own video platform integration.
Okay.
So
it's similar in that you do see people. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can actually do like Twine Deep Combos on the App Store to find it if you're on an iOS device, or you can just go to twine.nyc and go for the browser version. So we also have an in-browser version for anyone who doesn't have an Apple device.
But essentially, you're like this. You're seeing someone's face, and you're connecting like that. So it's not over text. It's not email. It's not over chat. You're getting to at least connect face to face with someone about these meaningful conversations that are short enough to just kind of fit in. I know people that do it once in the morning to start the day, to connect and to get their brain going and thinking and set themselves up for a fantastic day and feel like they had that being connected first thing in the day, regardless of whatever else is going to happen, or if they're not going to see anybody else for the rest of the day, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's sort of like the espresso shot approach. I think of it as a conversation as an espresso shot. You know, have your coffee with someone while you're drinking your coffee, get your ideas going. I think, I think it's a really powerful way for, I mean, the core of it is just that human beings are wired for connection. We're designed for connection. And so it's always been my dream to see a place emerge in the world where, you know, it's wild. There's 7 billion human beings in the world, right? 7 billion people. And so what if you had the ability to be able to like walk into this library of humanity and have a one-to-one conversation with anyone on a topic that you had a mutual interest in, or even a topic that you disagree on? I think that's the other part that's important, you know, finding your common threads, finding your belonging. Awesome for experiencing Twine. Also, we found that we have a pretty strong set of members that are also interested in sort of like opening their minds and finding their different. Oh, sorry. So in terms of just finding differences and being able to have those political debates in a safe space where you're not being judged and there's no audience, it's actually super important because we're all living in our little silos and walls right now.
Right. And it gives you that chance, like you said, to grow a little bit every day. It's like a library, literally like a people library. That's just so amazing to have access to something like that. And to kind of circle back to what you said about the loneliness being its own sort of pandemic. And some of those statistics that you included in the article that you wrote was that 1 in 2 Americans report feeling alone or left out. That's huge. That's something that, like you said, most people aren't going to admit to, but 1 in 2 Americans?
Yeah. No, I mean, we all feel it at some point, right? I call it the blues. And it's that, right? It's that sense, and it's both feeling connected, but I also mean like feeling connected in a deeper way, which is even rarer, like meaningful connection, not just superficial connection.
Right.
And so, so it's just so important because I think it's sort of a tragedy of the commons situation that happens on the internet because we keep sort of building for what's the most convenient, the laziest thing you can interact with, the most superficial interaction you could possibly have. And so we end up with like this state of, I think, social media. And so ironically, we're on here talking about it, but
I know.
on Instagram. But I also, you know, like one thing I really love about Best Friends Central is a lot of the messaging you do around women supporting women. And I think this is just really important. And I often think about what online communities would look like if they were founded and led by women instead of by, like, I look at Facebook, LinkedIn, Reddit, now, gosh, what's the new one? Discord. It's like all of these founders, one thing in common, they're all white men. And the systems that are being designed on those social platforms are very reflectant of their founders. And so I really love anything that has to do with women supporting women so that we can create more communities in our view and perspective. So Twine, you'll notice, is built with a lot of thought around trust, a lot of thought around empathy, around attention, thought, like it's really thoughtful. And it's not necessarily designed to be the most laziest version of interaction that you could possibly have, because it does require you to have a conversation. But we think that's important to create spaces that, you know, reflect who we are in this world.
Yeah, like a deeper, like you said, deeper conversations for more meaning, deeper meaning, to make that, to have that impact and make that change.
Exactly.
And so some of those other, just for people watching and who will tune into this later over time, more of those statistics that I thought were shocking and why it made this venture for you and I to connect people even more important moving forward is that 1 in 4 are rarely, they say that 1 in 4 are rarely or never understood. That's how they feel.
Yep.
Or 2 in 5 say their relationships are not meaningful and they're isolated from others. And that like hurts my heart when I hear that. And so just I think for people to have places to go and have, whether they are going out into the world and they can come to a place like this where they're seen and they have someone that's willing to support what they're doing, hear what they're doing, care about connecting them with other people. Like you said, being empathetic to to how they're feeling. And the other thing, it's like what you said, every single person has a fascinating story and a perspective worth sharing. And when you go out into the world in that mindset, isn't it so fascinating what you can learn and how your world can just crack wide open when you go into the world with that approach?
Absolutely. I mean, I think we can live through people's stories. So it's sort of like, one of my fascinations has always been with how many lifetimes can you live in one lifetime? And what I mean by that is just, if you're writing the book of your life and every single new chapter can be shaped by you, right? Whether it's a chapter that's a new venture or a new career or a new possibility, I just think we're such malleable, beautiful creatures that can really change anytime. And so, and given that world, I mean, part of the joy is like, I love a world where it's right now, it's like you have to go. So we have Netflix for streaming, right? So you're like, oh, cool, here's great content, I'm going to go watch Netflix. But people are just like Netflix, like creating a space where you can have conversations on demand, just like you can stream content on demand. Like that's great fictional content that's highly produced, but I can also get there by sitting down with you and asking you about your life, like what you care most about, what have been the most traumatic experiences for you, what have you learned from those situations, like when do you feel like you've been powerless, like all these really interesting questions that elicit the stories in people. And I think we forget that. I don't know what it is, but some things happen in terms of our social conditioning where it's not appropriate to talk to strangers. It's like it's only appropriate to have small talk, and we're just like bored out of our minds.
I'm wildly inappropriate then. I'm wildly inappropriate because I think just like you. I mean, I love talking to strangers and finding those tidbits about that make them who they are. I mean, what else are we here to do then, right? I mean, but I interrupted you. I just got so excited.
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, I was just reading the stat the other day that we meet on average more than 10,000 people like in our lifetimes. And I was wondering how COVID is impacting that, because most people I know are just now at home. They're not like meeting people, right? Except for, I was with a group of friends for a social distancing brunch the other day, and it was interesting because they were talking about how like they haven't met anyone and they can't go out and all this stuff. And I was like, I literally, because we launched Twine in April. And I think I've been on no less than, so I do like 3 or 4 conversations a week. It's almost a daily practice for me. And so I think I've met at least 40 to 50 people, like minimum, on Twine, and also gotten a chance to see all their different life stories. It's amazing, like absolutely amazing. People from all walks of life, all different cultures, experiencing quarantine in all different ways, like with different dreams, different career paths, different age groups. We have this wild phenomenon where parents that love Twine will recommend it to their teenagers. So I think we're literally probably one of the only social platforms that a parent would go on and be like, I want my teenager to experience this. This is like the best. And the teenager actually comes on and becomes like one of our super users. So that happens really often for us.
So why do you think that the parents are doing that? Encouraging their teenager to be online and talk to strangers, essentially.
Meaningful conversations, structured, safe, meaningful conversations. And I think it's also, funnily enough, I always thought of Twine as a coming of age ritual too, that at a certain time, your child might be interested in deeper conversations. They might want to talk with other people and explore humanity. And so I think we have some like really enlightened parents who are like, whoa, I'm having crazy awesome conversations on Twine. I want to introduce my kids to this. So we've seen like often kids will sign up, teenagers. So we're 18 plus, but like teenagers will sign up after their parents recommend it to them, or vice versa. Teenagers will recommend their parents to sign up, which I just love because it's multi-generational. And usually like what you'll see the behavior on traditional social platforms now is just each one targets a generation, right? Facebook is millennials. So it's all this sort of stuff, but ours is super cross-generational. You'll have people on Twine that are in their 70s and 80s. It's awesome. Like
those are the best people to talk to, I think.
So great. Great. I just met this gentleman. He's a world explorer. He was on Mount Everest for his 70th birthday. He's literally like the best human ever. He hosts students from all over the world. He's funded 2 strangers through college. Like he's just the best human. I just really love this human being. He's just so awesome. And then on the other hand, we also have like really radical 19-year-olds that are super old souls. Like they want to explore the deep stuff. And I think it's just that there isn't really a space online for these types of experiences right now. Like, you can't find depth. Where do you go to find depth? And also a trusted space. I think that's the other thing, you know, coming back to the part where we were talking about female founders in social media platforms. I think that's what we bring to the table in part, is a lot of thoughtfulness around, you know, I've been in situations where I've been uncomfortable as a woman, and I never want anyone to experience that level of uncomfortableness in a situation. And so that goes straight into our product design, right? It goes straight into how we design this community. Do I think that the founders of Discord think like that? No. Like, that's why their community looks the way it does. But I think that's why, like, we need more female founders in social media platforms, building social media companies, because we can build community in a way that the world hasn't seen. And I speak that way also about minorities, like communities of color. We also need more founders who are of color building the communities, because we have an experience set that's very different around what it means to be safe in a community. So I think that's why, by the way, all the different age groups are gravitating towards Twine.
I love that. So it's not just like this sort of micro thing that only a certain group of people are doing. And when you talk about meeting all these people, it's like, where it's not as likely as you're gonna meet these people in other places, especially right now. And it just reminds me of me as a young adult feeling like I didn't know how to do small talk. I wanted to like I wanted to get to like who you are and what do you believe in and what is at your core, and let's talk about those things, right? And that's how I have always been. And then as an adult, you know, you're kind of like take a step back sometimes, because that's not always, like you said, appropriate, especially with strangers. And so that's what I love so much about this app that you created, because also too, like you said, you're instilling all these features to make sure that you're getting those meaningful conversations and that growth, but you're in charge of the experience personally. So you put things in to ensure that it's a limited conversation of time, and you can't access each other outside of the app and things like that, to ensure that people are safe. And it's a very intentional community, and I love that about it.
Thank you.
So what else can we talk about? What else is, I mean, there's so many things. Like, I love that you said that this was the idea that got you up, like already thinking at 6 a.m. in the morning, and that it just drove you. And I feel like we're in the same boat right now. Like, I've never been a morning person, and I can't sleep past like 5 a.m. because I want to get up and meet the people that need to come here, and who can I connect with someone else? How can I make the community better today? And just, we're building these things for a better future. And you said something else in your article. I have all my notes here, so I'm so excited about this conversation.
So awesome.
Something else that is better for society, like replacing what is detrimental to us right now without us even necessarily knowing it, and replacing it with something else that's better for society.
Yeah, there's the way I think about this is really the tobacco industry. I mean, so quitting cigarettes is really hard. There was a period of time when I loved smoking too. I came out of Shanghai and I was working on a venture in China, and it was like we were smoking all the time. Social smoking was a thing. But it's really hard to quit smoking. It's much easier to do it like if you have a replacement thing, which is why like really serial smokers would tell you, like, you need a replacement habit, whether it's the patch or a lollipop or a timer or an app or something. And it's similar. You know, we're getting a lot of noise right now from folks who are saying, just quit your social media. You know, just quit the things that aren't healthy for you, the social interactions that suck. But realistically, you actually need to replace it with something. So I've been I like to test everything on myself. I've been very unsuccessful in quitting social media cold turkey for no good reason besides like I'm just going to try to quit and see how long it lasts. I have been off Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter for months now. Like literally probably 4 or 5, I don't even know how long. It's been a long time. Mostly because I figured out a replacement habit. Obviously one habit is Twine. But the other habit is just like every time I would get an itch to go look at a feed, I would instead just text someone who the first person who popped into my mind. So it might be my mom, might be my sister, might be a friend from a long time ago. I just think about it and be like, well, whose post would I usually see on Facebook or Instagram? Okay, cool. I'll just text that person like an audio message.
And that's like what we used to do at least for me growing up. You would call someone, you're thinking about that person, so you call them and you talk to them.
Yeah.
Right?
So I'm like an audio message fiend. All I do is drop audio messages all day.
Yes.
That's one part. And the other thing I think I just saw Lindsay post something about quitting cold turkey seeming impossible. I think another piece of advice would just be like, I'm a voracious reader, and I have like a crazy library account where I just read 10 books at the same time, and I have like an endless number of books on hold. And I treat books like magazines. So literally I'll read random chapters. I just am just like, oh, I'm going to pretend that the library is my Facebook feed. And instead of reading like junk posts, I'm literally just going to read random chapters out of these books. And it's become a highly addictive and very productive habit. I had to be honest, because I was like trying to find something to fill those time, like that time in between when you just want to scroll past one thing on Twitter. And it's just like, all right, I read 5 sentences. That's better.
I think about that because there was a point, and I still do it, but all this downtime that we have when we're waiting in line, or we're at, in our car at the car wash or whatever, what did we used to do? I would have a book. I would always have a book, and you break it open and you read a little bit, and then you go about your day. And instead, now you go on the feed. And so instead of necessarily like transporting ourselves to Paris through the book that we're reading, or learning about someone else's life or history or whatever, like growing our brain, we can do that on social media. I'm not saying that, but it's just it's not as detrimentally addictive and sparking that endorphin and changing the way our brain works, what our expectations are for our life,
Definitely. So I think it's a blend of whether it's books plus like, so I do it through a blend of books plus Twine conversations. I stopped looking at anything news related too. I only read only the New York Times blurbs. That's it. So it's like books plus Twine conversations, which are with strangers, and then being really intentional about who you stay in contact with, text and send audio messages with and engage with in terms of your own personal network. And so I think those 3 hacks worked pretty well, because I haven't felt the need to go on any platforms, since, except for business or for whatever purpose, like something like this. But even this, I'm like, let's, somebody out there, please rebuild Instagram. So we have the best of Instagram, and please let it be a female founder. Just do it.
We're just putting that out there. We're just
put it out there.
That.
Because I want this, and then not the rest of the stuff, right? Just I want the best. And I think there's this enduring philosophy right now where it's just oh, well, just make the best of what you have in these platforms. It's oh, well, Facebook can be used for good, so can Instagram. I'm just no, we can't let's not compromise. Somebody build the next one, and I want to go participate in your platform that has the best of all these platforms, that's actually designed for good and not for addiction. We can do better than this. So anyway.
Well, hello. I think I am looking at the person, Diana, to build the next best all good way to connect. And I think you're on your way to having done that with Twine. It's definitely a start. It's definitely more than a replacement. It's to call it a replacement. That doesn't even come close to giving it its props and credit to what you've been able to create in such a short amount of time. My goodness. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on today. Thank you so much for being who you are and being brave and confident to crack open the world and make it better and make it a better place. You just inspire me. And I think that you will definitely inspire anyone that sees this. And so please tell everyone the easiest ways they can find your app and go about changing their world and doing all those great things.
Thank you so much. This has been an amazing, I've loved this conversation. As you know, I love all deep conversations that actually go somewhere. So this has been really beautiful. Okay, so if you want to check out Twine, go to twine.nyc. And the other part is I will look out for you as you guys, y'all come into this platform, and make sure that you have access also to our Women Supporting Women Twines, which is a special series of twines that are all about women lifting women up. And it's one of my favorite things to do because the conversations are super vulnerable. They're really specially curated questions all around how we can do more for each other. So I will definitely look forward to welcoming y'all to Twine.
Wow. Okay. And I think we should plan on doing this again, where where you take me to the deep end. I want to show all of our viewers and all of the women that are growing this community what it feels like to have what you call like go into the deep end of a meaningful conversation. And so let's plan on doing that again. And we will get all of you guys connected with Diana and with all of the work that she's doing. So thank you everyone for joining Best Friend Central
Thank
today.
you. Thanks
And
for all
we
the
will
comments.
yes, I know. I didn't want to stop and address the comments because the conversation was so meaningful. So we will see you next week again at Thursday at 11:30. And again, Diana, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you. Bye,
All right.
friend.
Bye.